Good afternoon, gentlemen of the American Fantasy Football League. I am your league reporter, Paul Glassman. As you can tell, I am donning the sport coat today with a black polo. I had to give a presentation in one of my classes, so I thought I would class this joint up a little bit. Now, as I did last week, I'm going to make a rundown of the power rankings. I changed it up this week. I figured I should not be so lazy when I do these videos. So I made up my own. And if you don't like them, kiss my ass. So I'm going to start off with number 1, Blackbeard's Delight. So far, in the first 2 weeks, they've had the largest margin of victory out of any of the teams in the American Fantasy Football League. Now, coming in at number 2 is Potty Wins. Although they've scored the most points in the league, I still think the biggest margin of victory is more important. Coming in at number 3 are the Vinegar Strokes. They've put together 2 decent weeks against some pretty decent opponents. Their margin of victory was a little bit bigger, but they still have some room to play with. Coming in at number 4 are the Oklahoma Ass Kickers. Now, in week 1, they only won by .3. Last week, they won by 10. So, this, I think, is starting to make the shift into the team that we thought the Ass Kickers were going to have, the production that they were going to have. Coming in at number 5 are the Ryan Express. This is a new team this year. I think that they've also put together 2 decent weeks. Now, the top 5 teams are all 2-0, the only undefeated teams in the entire league. So now this is where my job got interesting this week. Breaking down into number 6, I had to put the Arrowhead Raiders. John, I gave you a lot of shit last week about how much your team sucked, but I'm going to give you a lot of props this week. That was the biggest margin of victory at 48.6 points last week. You're averaging 153.8 in the first 2 weeks. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to continue to have the same offensive production as you did last week. I think you had a great week last week, and I will give you all the props in the world. But I don't think you would have gotten there without me pushing you. So, you're welcome. Coming in at number 7 are the Tacktown Thugs. Last week, we kind of got an insight as to how good Dave's team is, or can be. Now, again, the NFL is week to week, so the production needs to be there every week for the Tacktown Thugs. Coming in at number 8 are the Grifters. They've put together a solid week last week. Week before, we'll see how they do. They're 1-1 right now. They're still number 8 in the league. Coming in at number 9 is Entrust Me We Trust. You let me down, Joe. I put a little bit of faith in you last week, and you let me down. Simple as that. That's okay. Not really, though. Coming in at number 10 are the Oklahoma Outlaws. They've put together 2 decent weeks, not scoring too much, not scoring very little at the same time. I think it'll be interesting to see as the season progresses how well they will do. Coming in at number 11 are the Prospect Hill Punishers. John, you're in the middle of the pack. Let's see some more. You got Andrew Luck as your QB. I want to see more. Coming in at number 12 are the UPS Loggers. Now, this is the second time in the American Fantasy Football League history the Loggers have started 0-2. They started last year 0-2 as well, which led to a 2-9 season overall. Now, this doesn't mean much right now, but seeing how last season went so poorly, Tom, you got to stop the bleeding a little bit. Now, I will say you have played some pretty tough opponents so far, so that does have some accountability in it. I think as the season goes on, maybe start playing some teams that aren't so good, get some W's. But you got to find a way to stop the bleeding. Coming in at number 13 are the Pawtucket Patriot Ales. This is their first start at 0-2 in American Fantasy Football League history. Come on, Griff. I know you're a better GM than this. Number 14 are the Cheesehead Champs. When I was coming up with the last 3 guys, I had to go with, I guess you would call it the lowest margin of victory. The Cheesehead Champs, combined in the past 2 weeks, are scoring 25 points less than their opponents. Uh-oh. Coming in at number 15 are the Sacramento Steelhead. They've scored 100 and they're averaging 138 points a week. They're scoring 56.2 points less than their opponents right now. last week they got blown out. The week before they got blown out. You got to do something. And number 16 are Watson's Warriors. Now, Watson only lost by 0.3 in week 1 to the Oklahoma Ass Kickers. You can call that a fluke if you want to. I don't know what to call it. But last week they lost by 58.2 points. That is huge. Huge. Again, follow me on Twitter. And I have a quote from John Paredes, owner of the Air Red Raiders. He says, "Bring it on." His team's here to stay. He says, "Bring it on." Follow me on Twitter at GrizzNation99. I'll make sure to put it at the bottom. If you have any comments, leave them in the message board. Go American Fantasy Football League.